I'm Eleanor Harris, 34, and I nearly missed my sister Laura's doctorate ceremony today at the University of North Carolina's Grand Lecture Hall in Chapel Hill. The warm spring air hummed with anticipation, the scent of blooming dogwoods mingling with the chatter of families clutching programs and snapping photos under the sprawling oaks. I adjusted my navy dress uniform, the Rear Admiral stars gleaming under the morning sun, their weight a quiet reminder of years spent in the shadows. My polished shoes clicked on the stone path as I approached the entrance, weaving through excited graduates in black gowns, their laughter echoing off the red brick building. A breeze tugged at my tightly knotted bun, but I smoothed it back, steadying myself for the moment I'd dreaded and anticipated in equal measure. The usher, a young graduate student with a clipboard, scanned her guest list, her brow furrowing as she tapped her pen against the paper. "I'm sorry, ma'am, I have an Eleanor Harris here, but no title or rank indicated. You're not on the VIP list." Her voice was polite but firm, her eyes darting to my uniform, clearly puzzled by the mismatch. The invitation, sent by Laura, listed me only as her sister, a deliberate omission I'd come to expect from her assumptions about my career. Before I could clarify, Laura appeared, resplendent in her black doctoral gown, the red hood draped over her shoulders signaling her PhD in sociology. Her blonde hair caught the light, and her teasing smile was as familiar as it was cutting. "She's not even on the list properly, is she?" she said to the usher, barely glancing at me. "Just my little sister, probably buried in some office filing reports." Her words carried the same dismissive tone I'd heard since childhood, a jab wrapped in jest that stung more than she knew. I hid a grin, the secret I'd kept for years a shield against her barbs. I'd let Laura believe my career was mundane, a clerical role far removed from her academic spotlight, because explaining the classified world of naval intelligence was a battle I'd long avoided. But then Dr. Margaret Ellison, the university's provost, approached from the hall's arched entrance, her sharp eyes catching the glint of my Admiral stars. "Admiral Eleanor, front row," she said warmly, her voice cutting through the crowd's murmur like a beacon. "We're honored you could attend." Her crimson dress stood out against the sea of black gowns, her presence commanding respect. The air stilled, the hum of the crowd fading. Laura's smile froze, her blue eyes locking onto my stars, her hand trembling so violently that her program crinkled audibly. Our parents, Robert and Susan Harris, stood a few feet away, frozen in place, Robert's jaw tightening, his professor's composure cracking like thin ice, while Susan's hazel eyes flickered with a quiet pride, as if she'd always suspected the truth beneath my vague answers. "Thank you, Dr. Ellison," I said calmly, my voice steady despite the weight of their stares. "I wouldn't miss Laura's day." I stepped forward, the medals on my chest clinking softly, a silent testament to the life I'd hidden from them all. Growing up in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, our lives revolved around the rhythm of academia, the university's bell tower chiming through our open windows. Our cozy home, a craftsman-style bungalow near campus, was a shrine to scholarship, its walls lined with bookshelves and Laura's debate trophies gleaming under lamplight. Robert Harris, our father, ruled it with an intellectual rigor that bordered on obsession, his tweed jackets and sharp critiques setting the tone. Laura, 6 years my senior, was his pride, her perfect grades and eloquent speeches earning his nods of approval over dinner, where he'd proclaim, "That girl's destined for greatness," his voice warm with certainty. I was the odd one out, my nose buried in books on cryptography and computer science while Laura dazzled at debate tournaments. My victories came at math competitions, where I solved complex problems under fluorescent lights, but they went unnoticed at home. Robert called my interests hobbies, dismissing my talk of code breaking as childish daydreams. Laura would smirk across the table, her blue eyes glinting with amusement, while Susan, our mother, offered gentle encouragement, her soft voice saying, "Eleanor's gifted in her own way." But her tone carried an apology, as if my intellect was a peculiarity to be tolerated rather than celebrated. The math competition in 8th grade crystallized our dynamic. I'd spent months crafting a project on fractal patterns, my bedroom a chaos of graph paper and computer code. The night before the fair, I found my display ruined, papers soaked with water, my laptop's files mysteriously deleted. Laura leaned in my doorway, her college sweatshirt loose on her frame, feigning concern. "Oops, Ellie, clumsy move. Better luck next time." Her voice dripped with mock sympathy, but her eyes betrayed a flicker of satisfaction. I rebuilt it overnight, my hands trembling with exhaustion and anger as Susan drove me to school, the car's hum filling the silence. "I know it was her," I whispered, my voice hoarse from fatigue. Susan sighed, her hazel eyes fixed on the road, her hands tight on the wheel. "You can't prove it, Eleanor. And your father hates accusations without evidence." Her words were a quiet rebuke, but her glance held a spark of empathy, as if she understood the weight of Laura's shadow. Against all odds, my rebuilt project won regionals and advanced to nationals, the judges praising its originality. Robert framed the local newspaper story in his office, his first acknowledgement of my nerdy pursuits, but even that felt like a concession. Laura's resentment grew, her dismissals sharper. "It's just a math thing," she'd tell Robert's colleagues at faculty dinners, her voice loud enough to carry. "Not like she's changing the world." Her words cut deep, fueling a resolve to prove her wrong, not with arguments, but with a future she couldn't dismiss. My fascination with naval intelligence sparked during a high school trip to the Defense Intelligence Agency in Washington, D.C., the bus ride from Chapel Hill filled with restless chatter. While classmates yawned through a sanitized tour, I was captivated by Major Sarah Bennett, a counterintelligence officer whose crisp uniform and confident demeanor commanded attention. She explained how analysts thwarted threats by connecting obscure data points, her green eyes bright with conviction. "The best victories are the ones we prevent," she said, her words striking a chord deep within me, a vision of service that aligned with my analytical mind and offered a path Robert might one day respect. At dinner that night, the clink of silverware paused as I announced my ambition to join naval intelligence. Laura laughed so hard she spilled her water, the droplets staining the tablecloth. "You. Intelligence," she gasped, wiping her mouth. "You'd trip over your own books trying to keep up." Her mockery echoed through the dining room, her confidence unshaken by my resolve. Robert was kinder but skeptical, his brow furrowing over his glasses. "Intelligence requires grit, Eleanor. It's not just about being smart." His words, though measured, carried the same doubt I'd heard for years. Laura piled on, smirking. "You still use a desk lamp to read at night, Ellie. How are you keeping national secrets?" I did read late, not from fear but obsession, my lamp casting shadows as I pored over algorithms and ciphers, but I let her jab slide, my silence a shield. Later, Susan slipped into my room, her soft footsteps barely audible on the hardwood floor. She sat on my bed, her bobbed hair silver in the moonlight. "Your great-aunt Clara was a codebreaker during World War II, she whispered, her voice low as if sharing a forbidden secret. "No one spoke of it. Women weren't supposed to do such things. But she was brilliant, Eleanor, like you." Her words, warm and conspiratorial, fueled a fire in me, a legacy I hadn't known I carried. Susan's revelation became my anchor. I'd prove them wrong, not with loud declarations but with quiet, relentless work, letting my achievements speak where my voice wasn't heard. My acceptance to the Naval Academy arrived on a rainy April evening, the envelope damp from the mailbox but heavy with promise. I hid it until dinner, when Laura was home from her state university, her presence filling the room with her usual confidence. As I passed the salad, I said, "I got into Annapolis," my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. The table went silent, the clatter of forks pausing. Laura's spoon froze mid-air, her blue eyes narrowing. "Annapolis," Robert echoed, his voice tinged with disbelief, as if I'd claimed a spot on the moon. Susan's smile was cautious but warm, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Probably filling some diversity quota, Laura muttered, her tone sharp enough to cut glass. Robert shot her a look. Enough, Laura. Annapolis is elite. Eleanor earned it. But he added, his voice softer, I didn't think you were interested in the military. His doubt lingered, a familiar weight. Intelligence, I clarified, meeting his gaze. The academy's the best path. Laura scoffed, rolling her eyes. Pushing papers while others do real work. Classic Ellie. Her words were a jab, but I let them pass, my focus on the future. At Annapolis, rumors, sparked by Laura's gossip to her college friends, suggested Robert's academic connections got me in. My roommate, Mia Chen, a sharp Bostonian with a quick laugh, dismissed them over late-night study sessions. Gossipers are just broadcasting their own insecurities, she said. Her words a lifeline in the grueling academy life. I thrived under Captain Emmeline Gwynn, my mentor in the intelligence track, who praised my knack for spotting patterns in complex datasets. In my senior year, I joined a classified operation, analyzing intercepted signals that prevented a terrorist attack on a U.S. embassy. The commendation was secret, shared only with those cleared, but it solidified my path. At graduation, I ranked in the top 5%, Laura's dismissive quip. Desk job forever, huh? Ringing hollow as I accepted my commission. My career in naval intelligence soared, but I kept it hidden from my family, a choice born of necessity and self-preservation. Laura's ego seemed fragile, her academic achievements the centerpiece of family pride, and Robert clung to her as the star destined for a professorship. At gatherings, I spoke vaguely of support roles or data management, letting them assume I was a glorified clerk in some nondescript office. Susan's knowing glances, her hazel eyes catching mine over the dinner table, suggested she sensed the truth beneath my evasions, but she never pressed in front of others. At 28, I became a commander after thwarting a sophisticated cyber attack on naval systems, my team's work saving critical infrastructure. The ceremony was private, held in a secure room with only cleared personnel. Admiral Rachel Thompson pinned my insignia, her voice steady as she said, "The Navy's fortunate to have you, Commander Harris." The weight of her words settled over me like a mantle. At a family dinner celebrating Laura's first published paper, she held court, her voice animated as she described her sociological research. Mark, her fiancé, nodded adoringly, his presence a quiet anchor to her energy. "Eleanor still shuffling papers?" he asked, his tone light but patronizing. Laura grinned. "Someone's gotta keep the offices running, right?" I smiled, sipping my wine that tastes sharp on my tongue. "Keeps me busy." Later, as I helped Susan with dishes, the clink of plates filling the silence, she studied me. "For a desk jockey, you carry yourself like a leader, Eleanor." I deflected, drying a plate. "I'm doing fine, Mom." Over drinks at a DC bar, Mia challenged my secrecy, her voice cutting through the hum of conversation. "Why let Laura think you're a nobody? Your intel has saved lives, probably even her precious research data." Her words lingered, a quiet accusation that my silence was more fear than strategy. At 32, I became one of the youngest captains in naval intelligence after exposing a mole in a foreign agency, a discovery that prevented a massive security breach. The Secretary of the Navy attended my promotion, his presence a rare honor I omitted from family calls, knowing they'd never grasp its weight. The Pentagon's sterile halls felt worlds away from Chapel Hill's oak-lined streets. Then came the operation that redefined my career. I spotted a subtle pattern in intelligence reports from 3 continents, a faint thread others overlooked. For 72 sleepless hours, I built an analytical model in a dimly lit office, my coffee growing cold as I traced the contours of a planned cyber attack on U.S. defense networks. Leading a task force, I neutralized the threat, averting a crisis. The Joint Chiefs adopted my methodology, and Admiral Rachel Thompson summoned me. "The President has approved your promotion to Rear Admiral," she said, sliding the orders across her desk. "At 34, you're the youngest female admiral in Navy history. Your family must be thrilled," she added. I admitted, "They don't know." She raised an eyebrow, her gray eyes sharp. "Secrets have weight, Eleanor. They grow heavier with time." Days later, Laura called, her voice bubbling with excitement. "I'm getting my PhD. Big ceremony at UNC next month. You'll come, right?" I checked the date, after my own ceremony. "I'll be there," I promised, the irony bitter. Her milestone would be celebrated publicly, mine locked in classified files. My admiral ceremony was a solemn affair, held in a secure Pentagon room with top brass in dress whites, the air thick with formality. As my stars were pinned, pride mingled with isolation. No family to witness this historic moment. Admiral Rachel Thompson's words echoed. "Truth can be a tactical disadvantage before it reveals its benefits." I left the ceremony with a hollow ache, the stars heavy on my shoulders. At UNC for Laura's ceremony, I wore my dress uniform, medals gleaming under the lecture hall's chandeliers. The usher's confusion over my rank was cut short by Laura's quip about my filing job. Her voice light but edged with superiority. Then Dr. Margaret Ellison's greeting. Admiral Eleanor, front row, sliced through the crowd's murmur, her crimson dress a stark contrast to the black gowns around her. Laura's shock was palpable, her eyes wide as they locked on my stars. Robert's face was a mask of disbelief, his tweed jacket suddenly out of place. Susan's held quiet triumph, her smile soft but knowing. Dr. Ellison escorted me forward, whispering, "Your Triton operation protected our research networks." "Thank you." I nodded, murmuring, "Classified, ma'am." At the reception, my family cornered me in a quiet corner, champagne glasses forgotten. "Admiral." Laura choked, her voice tight. "Since when?" I replied, "Last week. I've been in intelligence my entire career. Not filing papers." My words hung heavy, a truth long buried now laid bare. At Laura and Mark's sleek Chapel Hill condo, the tension boiled over, the modern furniture and soft lighting at odds with the storm brewing. "Do you know how this makes me look?" Laura snapped, pacing the hardwood floor, her doctoral gown discarded for a cashmere sweater. "Telling colleagues my sister's a clerk when you're an admiral?" Her voice cracked, betraying a mix of anger and humiliation. "Is that what matters?" Susan asked sharply, her hands clasped tightly, her floral dress a quiet contrast to her fierce tone. Robert, nursing a scotch, demanded, "Why hide it, Eleanor?" His eyes, usually so steady, flickered with hurt. I took a deep breath, the weight of 15 years pressing down. Laura mocked my ambitions from the start, called them nerdy, useless. And you, Robert, valued her path, public, academic, visible. My work is classified in the shadows. It was easier to let you believe what you wanted than fight to explain what I couldn't share. My voice was calm, but my heart raced. Mark gestured to my medals, his suit jacket unbuttoned. "What are they for?" I smiled faintly. "Serving effectively." Laura's eyes narrowed. "The 2019 data breach my team was warned about. That was you, wasn't it?" I replied, "I can't confirm specifics, but I've always looked out for you." She sank onto the couch, stunned, the truth settling like dust. The next morning, Robert and I met at a cafe near campus, the smell of fresh coffee grounding the heavy conversation. He stood as I approached, a nod to my rank that felt both formal and unfamiliar. "At ease," I said with a smile, sliding into the booth, my civilian blazer a stark contrast to yesterday's uniform. "I'm still getting used to this," he admitted, his tweed jacket creased from sleeplessness. "I failed you, Eleanor." I was blind to your work because it didn't fit my view of success. You were proud of Laura, I said, stirring my coffee. I didn't want to compete with that. He nodded, his eyes soft. Your mother knew. She said your vague answers hid something extraordinary. Later I met Laura at a park, the pond's surface rippling under a gentle breeze. She stood as I approached, her scarf twisted in her hands. I was wrong, she said, her voice low. I belittled you because I was insecure. You were always the brilliant one. I admitted. I hid my success to protect you. That wasn't fair. She nodded. That data breach warning. It was you, wasn't it? Smiled. Let's say I've got your back. That evening, Susan hosted dinner, the table warm with candlelight. She raised her glass. To my children, excelling in their own ways. Laura grinned. To my sister, the Admiral. I'm working on not being a jerk. Laughter broke the tension. A new beginning forged in truth.